name is Richard Boyd. I'm the Chief Architect of Lockheed Martin's Virtual World Labs. And today my topic was about how gaming is changing what it means to be human in an information age. Gaming is really, especially what's interactive 3D gaming that most people think of today is really just a medium for human expression. It happens to have the virtue of having all other media types ever used before present at once. So you've got video, audio, now you have interactive 3D characters, which may be a computer-generated character or it could be a real person. So you've got social networking and you've got all these great media at your disposal, which is fantastic as it turns out for training, data visualization, all sorts of applications. I really believe that interactive 3D as a medium is really good for just four things when it comes to improving human performance. The first is fairly obvious to all of us today, although it wasn't so obvious in, let's say, the early 90s, and that is that 75% of all human beings out there cannot look at 2D information like a blueprint or a drawing and extrapolate in their heads, in the virtual reality in their head, to see, like, what is that building going to look like? What is that new ship or aircraft carrier going to look like? And what we expect today is that anytime we design something new, we want to see a 3D model of it first so we can go through it and usually move through it, right? So that's taken for granted today. The other element, which is pretty obvious today, is entertainment. So the first was design, second is entertainment. It turns out when you immerse people in these really fantastic 3D experiences with other people and with interesting environments, it's very entertaining. And I think it's been quite a long time ago, maybe 1997 or so, when computer gaming exceeded movie box office receipts. And it's something that we all understand today and take for granted. Now the last two are where we're focused here at the Mod Sim World conference here in Montreal, and that is taking this ability now to create really convincing environments and now really convincing humans, which is sort of the new development over the last year and especially over the last week or so with the E3 announcements of Natal and the Sony Motion Interface, that sort of thing, that we have this ability to create a safe practice environment. And that allows people, as it turns out, to do everything from learn how to fly an airplane to how to manage a McDonald's restaurant to how to change a tire or how to work on machinery on a aircraft carrier. These are things that seem intuitive now but weren't so obvious many years ago. And so one of the things we're also doing at the conference today is bringing all this return on investment to show that, gee, it turns out that if you have a task that is technically difficult, where maybe access to the equipment or the place is difficult, high cost of failure, and again, the canonical example is flight simulation, if you take a person and put them into that environment and let them practice, you get a shorter path to mastery. And that's really what it's all about, is human performance, improving human performance by taking advantage of the amazing power that Moore's Law is giving us in these tiny machines. Both our laptops, increasingly things like the iPhone and netbooks, smaller devices are capable of allowing humans to practice things and get them right before trying them in the real world. Well, there's a really interesting concept there, and I'm not sure of the exact term for it off the top of my head, but I've heard people call it neuroarchaeology, and it's this Marshall McLuhan sort of idea that the things we make us in turn. So, and there are some that talk about this being true all the way back to the first time someone wrote on a cave wall. The fact that a message or symbols were left behind for other humans to see changed what it meant to be a social human character or being, right? Marshall McLuhan is famously in his book Understanding Media talked about the impact of television on humans and on society, how it changed the way we started socializing, what it means to be culturally literate, how we socialize with each other, how we prefer to receive information. And there's evidence that our brains actually change physically to remap to this new extension of ourselves, right? So think about the complexity that a child born today is going to face. My 3.5-year-old daughter can actually is used to using an iPhone, and actually the first time she walked up to a television set, tried to change the channel by swiping the screen, turned around and told me that it was broken, and I said, you know, it kind of is. Why doesn't it work the way we expect it to? Why do I have to go get a remote control? Which I then showed her. I was like, no, you get the remote control. There's one of 6 that are in Daddy's den here, and this is how you go to change the channel. And I thought about it for a second, and she looked at me puzzled, and I'm like, you're right, why is it so complex? Why is the human-machine interface so complex? And why don't I just gesture in the air or give a voice command and have all of these things obey? So it's all about interface, and we've spent a lot of time trying to get humans to interface to the equipment, and I think with some of the information and announcements we've seen from Sony and Microsoft last week, you're starting to see the other trend, which is the machines beginning to interface back to us, which is a little more natural and a lot better. What we're trying to do is reinvent how people prepare for their tomorrow. We think preparation is something that humans are going to have to take a lot more seriously in an information age. In my talk earlier, I talked about the fact that in 2007, for the first time, and well, as long as we've been recording it, we created more information in the world than we had available storage. What does that mean? It means we lost information. Was that information important, or could we do without it? What was it? And that's a problem. Especially in the next 5 years, we're going to increase the amount of information in the world tenfold. A lot of that's sensor data and pictures and emails and that sort of thing. But the important thing is, as a human, we have this incredible amount of information we're trying to track, whether it's the stock market or logistics supply information for a major department store, or the network-centric battlefield, which is incredibly complex. How do you keep track of it? How do you learn what can be safely ignored and what you need to pay attention to? And we need to come up with better digital filters for real-time analysis of that information, but also we need to learn how to thrive in that sort of information-dense environment. And it's going to take safe practice and simulation to do that. That's exactly the right way to do it.